My family cut me off when I chose love. Now they've returned with gifts and apologies and desperate to claim my baby. But something about their timing feels off. I'll never forget the first time my mother looked Ethan up and down like he was gum stuck to her Louboutin heel. She didn't even try to hide it. It was supposed to be a simple dinner. Homemade pasta, a bottle of Cabernet I picked up on sale, and a quiet introduction between the man I loved and the family I'd always feared. I knew it was a risk, but I thought if they just met him, maybe their hearts would soften. Instead, it took them 5 minutes to break mine. "So, Ethan," my father said over a plate of untouched lasagna, "what exactly is it you do at the warehouse? Drive a forklift? Or more of the box stacking variety?" Ethan, ever gracious, smiled politely. "Mostly logistics and inventory, but yeah, I help where I'm needed. It's honest work. Pays the bills." My mother let out this tiny breathless laugh. "Charming." I watched Ethan shift in his chair. Just a small movement, but I could feel his discomfort radiating across the table. His hand found mine beneath the linen cloth. I squeezed it, just once, hoping it could say "I'm sorry," and "Please don't take this personally," and "I love you anyway" all at once. It didn't matter. After dinner, as Ethan stepped out to get some air, my mother cornered me in the kitchen. "You're not serious," she hissed, setting her wineglass down so hard it cracked at the stem. "He's beneath you, Olivia. You were raised for more than mediocrity." "Stop it," I snapped. "He's good to me. He's kind. That's more than I can say for anyone in this house." She didn't flinch, just stared at me like she didn't recognize the woman in front of her. "If you stay with him, don't expect another cent from us. Not a dime for your future. And don't come crawling back when he breaks you." I said nothing, just turned, walked out the front door, and got into Ethan's beat-up Honda. He didn't ask what happened. He just took my hand and drove. I never went back. The silence after that was cold, but it was clean. No more fake smiles at brunch. No more being measured by the size of my bank account or the labels on my clothes. Ethan and I started over. We got married 2 years later at a city park. I wore a dress I found at a thrift shop for $47. He cried when he saw me walk down the aisle, and I knew I made the right choice. It wasn't glamorous. We shared a one-bedroom apartment with paper-thin walls and a leaky faucet. Our idea of date night was frozen pizza and Netflix on the couch. But we laughed. God, we laughed so much. And Ethan, he loved me in this quiet, unwavering way I didn't know I needed until it was all I had. Then I found out I was pregnant. I stood barefoot in our tiny bathroom, clutching the test in both hands like it might disappear if I blinked. 2 lines. I checked 3 more tests just to be sure. When I finally told him, Ethan dropped the spoonful of cereal he was eating, walked over and knelt down to kiss my stomach. "Hi there, Peanut," he whispered, voice shaking. "We've been waiting for you." That's when the message came. "Lauren, don't trust them. They're coming. It's not about you. It's about the baby." I hadn't spoken to my sister in years. She sided with our parents the moment I chose Ethan, called me reckless, selfish, said I was throwing my life away for a warehouse boy. I stared at the message, heart pounding. "Me? What are you talking about?" "Lauren, they want grandkids. I can't have any. You're their only hope now. That's why they want you back." My throat tightened. I showed Ethan. He read it, then read it again. "So they disown you for loving me," he said slowly. "And now that we're expecting, they just come back like nothing happened?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. But deep down, I knew. She was right. They came to our door a week later. I recognized my father's cologne before I saw him. My mother was wearing pearls and a coat worth more than our rent. They looked old, like the years without control over me had aged them faster. My mother held a pink gift bag with satin ribbon handles. My father, a man who never so much as hugged me unless there were cameras around, extended his arms. "Olivia," he said softly, "we miss you?" She smiled. "We want to make things right." I stared at them. The last time they saw me, I was begging them to understand. And now here they were, acting like my pregnancy had wiped the slate clean. Behind them, their chauffeur stood by the car, surrounded by boxes, Dior baby clothes, custom toys, silver spoons. Guilt wrapped in ribbon. I stepped back. Then I slammed the door, and for the first time in my life, I felt free. They followed up with a message, of course, a long, overwritten apology, carefully crafted to say all the right things: regret, misunderstanding, hope. They claimed Lauren was bitter, that she'd twisted the truth, that their motives were pure, that they wanted to rebuild. Ethan read it, then tossed his phone on the table. They're trying to rewrite history. They're trying to buy forgiveness. I nodded, and then I said something I didn't fully believe until I said it out loud. We don't owe them anything, not even access to our baby. Ethan reached for me, pulling me close, his hand resting gently on my belly. They had their chance to be family, he whispered. They blew it. But we both knew they weren't done yet. I thought slamming the door would be the end of it. I thought they'd retreat, lick their wounds in silence, and maybe spend a few weeks sulking about how ungrateful I was. But narcissists don't go away when you tell them no. They double down. A few days after I shut them out, I got a text from an unknown number. We understand emotions are high right now. Let's try again. Please let us be a part of your life and your child's life. I blocked the number. 2 days later, a card arrived in the mail. The kind that's stuffed with just enough handwritten guilt to almost sound sincere. Sweetheart, we only want to know our grandchild. We made mistakes, yes, but we've grown. Don't shut out the people who love you just because we didn't love you perfectly. That line made me physically nauseous. We didn't love you perfectly. Like abandoning me for years was just a hiccup. Like pretending Ethan didn't exist. Like cutting me off, erasing me from family photos. Telling people I'd gone off the rails was some casual parenting misstep. Ethan burned the letter in the backyard barbecue. I know it hurts, he said, watching the smoke rise, but this is their pattern. They're not here for you. They're here for what you can give them. Then they showed up again. This time, I didn't even have time to pretend we weren't home. I was just stepping outside to get the mail when I saw their car at the curb. My father got out first, his hands up like I was holding him at gunpoint. Please, he said, just 5 minutes, that's all we're asking. My mother emerged behind him in a cream coat and crocodile heels, looking like she'd just stepped out of a country club luncheon. Her eyes scanned me, belly now visibly round beneath my sweatshirt, then softened into practiced concern. Olivia, you look beautiful. I said nothing. I was shaking, not from fear, from rage. My father stepped closer. We're not asking you to forget the past, but can't we find a path forward? This baby, it's a new beginning. I finally snapped. No, I said, voice rising. You don't get to use this baby to rewrite your story. We're not using anyone, my mother said gently. We just want to be grandparents. Then maybe, I hissed, you should have tried being parents first. My dad's jaw clenched. The mask slipped for a second. You're being emotional. That's not fair. I actually laughed. Oh, now I'm emotional? You disowned me for loving a good man. You missed my wedding. You've never seen where I live. Never asked if I was okay. And now I'm pregnant and suddenly you want a redemption arc? My mother stepped forward. Olivia, sweetheart. I backed away. You don't get to sweetheart me anymore. Then Ethan appeared behind me, quiet but firm. You need to leave. My father looked at him with that same smug disdain he always carried. You're lucky we're even having this conversation. Ethan didn't flinch. You're not having it anymore. Go. They stood there for a beat too long, then turned and walked away, slowly, deliberately, like they wanted me to chase after them. I didn't. After that, there was silence. Blissful, eerie silence. For months, it was just us again. Me, Ethan, and the tiny life growing inside me. We painted the nursery ourselves. Soft yellows, a little rainbow decal above the crib. We argued about baby names over pancakes and made up before the syrup hit the table. Lauren didn't message again. I figured she'd washed her hands of it. Maybe even felt smug watching our parents get rejected by the daughter they once dismissed. My due date crept closer, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace until the letter arrived, a manila envelope from my parents' lawyer. Ethan opened it, read it in stunned silence, then handed it to me. Per the reinstated provisions of your trust, Olivia Grace Taylor is once again the sole beneficiary of the Taylor family estate, effective immediately. Your inheritance rights have been fully restored. There was more. Legalese, financial jargon, a quiet fortune folded into a few sterile paragraphs. I sat down, heart pounding. Why now? I whispered. Ethan didn't answer right away then, because they know they can't control you. So now they're trying to bait you. But this could change everything. It could, he said, but only if you let it. We stayed up late that night, talking, arguing, dreaming. I could take over the business someday, on my terms. Reform it, reshape it, make it mean something. No golden chains, no empty titles, just purpose. And if they wanted to be in our child's life, they'd have to prove they changed, really changed. Because I wouldn't let my child grow up believing love was conditional. I wouldn't let my baby learn that money buys forgiveness or that apologies come with strings attached. Not again. I chose Ethan once, and I'd choose him 1,000 times more. The contractions started at 3:12 a.m. Ethan was already half awake when I gripped his arm and said, "It's time." He didn't panic, just slid out of bed like we'd rehearsed it 100 times, bag by the door, car keys in his hand, steady voice, calm eyes. I don't think I've ever loved him more than I did in that moment, when I was sweaty and swollen and scared and he still looked at me like I was made of stardust. The hospital was a blur of fluorescent lights and waiting room chairs and beeping monitors. Nurses kept coming in and out. Words like dilation, progress, and almost there floated through the air like white noise. But when I held our baby for the first time, this tiny, wrinkled, perfect little girl with a full head of black hair, I sobbed like I hadn't in years. Ethan kissed my forehead. "You did it!" I couldn't stop staring at her. She looked at me like she already knew me, like she'd been waiting for me too. We named her Iris. Hope. The texts started 4 days later. Not from my parents, from Lauren. Lauren, they know she's here. Lauren, they're calling her the future of our name. Lauren, Olivia, they haven't changed. They just see her as an heir. I didn't respond. I sat in the nursery, rocking Iris gently, watching her sleep. Her tiny fists tucked under her chin, her breath soft and even. I ran my fingers through her hair and thought, "You're not theirs. You're not a symbol. You're mine." But it wasn't over. They sent a silver rattle with her initials engraved, a check for $10,000 labeled "Welcome Gift," a framed photo of my great-grandmother with a handwritten note, "5 generations of strong Taylor women. Let's make it 6. Ethan threw the check in the shredder. I mailed the rattle back. But the worst part? They showed up. Again. It was a Sunday. I was still healing, still moving like my body had been through a war, which it had. There was a knock at the door. I opened it with Iris on my shoulder. My mother gasped. My father's expression cracked just a little. "She's beautiful," he whispered. My mother reached out like I'd just hand her over. "May I?" "No," I said calmly. "You may not." "Olivia," she said, that old familiar scold tucked behind a smile. "Don't do this." "You want to meet Iris?" I said. "Then you show me something real. You show me you're here for us, not just for your name, your legacy, or the story you want to tell your country club friends." They blinked. I kept going. "You don't get to fast forward to grandparenthood like the last decade didn't happen. You left me. You erased me. You threw me away because I chose love over money. Now you want in because I have something you want?" I looked at Iris, who stirred softly against my chest. "You don't get to touch her until you prove to me you're not the people who walked away." They didn't argue. For once in their lives, they listened. Then they left. Not in a huff, not with a speech. They just left. Weeks passed. They didn't call, didn't write, didn't show up again. And for the first time since I found out I was pregnant, I felt the ground settle beneath me. Ethan and I had Iris baptized in a small garden with our friends and neighbors around us. No fancy suits, no trust fund talk, just love, real love. The kind that shows up, not just when it's convenient or impressive, but when it matters. Then came another letter. Same lawyer. New proposal. This time not money, not gifts, just an invitation, a seat on the board of the family company, full decision-making power, full control, a chance to lead it into a new era, mine to accept or decline. Ethan looked at me across the table. You thinking about saying yes? I nodded slowly. Maybe, on my terms. And them? I held Iris close. They stay out of her life until they earn their way in. Not just show up? Show up different. Because this isn't just my story anymore. It's Iris's. And I'll be damned if I let her grow up thinking that family means sacrifice without return, or that love is something you have to buy. The door is still closed, but maybe one day it opens again. And if it does, it'll be because they finally remembered how to knock like decent human beings. I didn't answer right away. The offer sat untouched on the dining table for a week. Every night after dinner, Ethan and I would sit across from it like it might explode. It's not about the money, I kept saying. Ethan would just nod, same steady way he always did. Then make it about something else. So I did. I spent a few weeks talking to lawyers, accountants, people I trusted, people who didn't see me as the rebel daughter or the warehouse man's wife. I had long, hard conversations with myself while holding Iris in the dead of night, wondering what kind of world I wanted her to grow up in. Not a world where women stay quiet for the sake of appearances. Not a world where love is transactional and forgiveness is performative. I wanted to take everything that used to haunt me and own it. So I said yes, but not to them, to the board, to the business, to the power I'd earned, not because of my name, but in spite of it. The first time I walked into the Taylor Group headquarters again, it felt like stepping into a past life. Polished marble floors, wall-sized portraits of men in suits, the smell of generational wealth and curated PR. But this time, I wasn't the obedient daughter sitting outside the conference room. I was at the head of the table. I didn't wear pearls or heels. I wore a navy blue blazer Ethan thrifted for me before my interview with the advisory committee. My hair was pulled back, no makeup. Just sharp eyes, clear terms, and a firm handshake. I didn't ask for approval. I laid out a vision. Strip the performative philanthropy and replace it with real community investment. Start apprenticeship programs for working-class youth. Open health benefits to all part-time staff, not just execs. Change the hiring pipelines to make space for people like Ethan, people who were told they weren't good enough because they didn't go to the right schools. It rattled the room. I didn't care. They voted me in, unanimously. My parents didn't show up for the ceremony, but Lauren did. She stood in the back of the room in a black dress and minimal makeup, her posture as stiff as ever, but her eyes softer than I'd seen them in years. After the photos and the speeches, I found her by the elevator. I almost didn't come, she said. I figured. She looked down at her shoes. I meant what I said. They still see you as the vessel, not the woman. I folded my arms. Do you? She didn't answer right away. Then, no, not anymore. There was a pause. She glanced up. I'm not here to beg for a relationship, Olivia. But if there's ever a time you want Iris to know her aunt, I'd like to try. I studied her face. She wasn't groveling. She wasn't trying to manipulate. She looked like someone who'd lost something and finally realized what it was. I nodded once. We'll see. Weeks turned into months. My parents didn't reach out. I didn't either. And somehow, that silence became its own kind of peace. Not absence, just space. The kind that made room for new things to grow. Iris turned one surrounded by friends, neighbors, and people who chose us. No silver spoons, just cupcakes and balloons, and Ethan dressed as a tired clown because the balloon guy canceled last minute. And somewhere between the laughter and chaos, I looked around and realized I hadn't lost anything. I'd gained everything. The company is changing, slowly. People resist, of course, but they're learning to listen, to adapt, to see beyond old names and old money. And Ethan, he's still working part-time at the warehouse, not because he has to, but because he likes the rhythm of it. Says it keeps him grounded. He picks up Iris from daycare in a truck with peeling paint and makes dinner every Tuesday so I can work late. He tells me I look powerful in my boardroom blazer and beautiful in my pajamas. I believe him. And Iris, she's walking now, talking in half sentences and pointing to the sky when she sees birds. She doesn't know the weight of our history yet, but one day she will. And when she does, I'll tell her. That love is louder than blood. That family is built, not inherited. And that her mother didn't just survive a broken legacy, she rewrote it. If you made it this far, thanks for riding with me. If you love real, messy, emotional stories like this, go ahead and hit subscribe. There's always another confession waiting in the back seat.